maybe turn on the switch or start practicing and looking for it rather than just becoming logical people and turning off the intuitive side because it's there for everybody.
Hi, my name is Juliana Roth, and this is Conversations with Animals.
I'm Maribeth Decker, and I'm with sacredgrove.com. I have to laugh because people thought it was right around Halloween, Scary Grove. It's not. And then there's the other one, which I kind of liked, which was sacredgroove.com, but it's Sacred Grove. And I'm an animal communicator and medical intuitive who does an energy healing for animals, so I can communicate with them. I can find out some information about how they're feeling physically and also do healing. And I like to say that Sacred Grove is where people and pets heal and connect.
I love that because, pets are such a huge part of our lives. We have such a pet loving country, which is like complicated with our other relationships with animals, I think. But animal communication might be something that's new for a lot of people, or like that there is this possibility. So I was wondering if you could just start by explaining to us what is animal communication.
That's a great place to start because I didn't even know it existed until it started happening to me. And what it is when you start to connect mind to mind with a being from another species, not a human. And that's animal communication. So it's telepathic. But when I say telepathic, people think words, but just like in real life, we receive information various ways. And so telepathically, you can receive words, you can hear words, you can see pictures in your mind's eye. You can, and those can include memories. You can feel emotions. Um, there's all sorts of ways to receive information, and that all can fit under the telepathic mind-to-mind communication with an animal.
And is this something that you feel like you have to have a special ability to do, or is it something that we can all tap into?
Well, from my experience, and I think it's a it's a good example. I think we're all wired for it, and I think our animals are. I was going to say I know our animals already have that sense of communicating telepathically. And if you've ever had your dog or your cat stare at you intently, I know they're saying like, "Why don't you get this? I'm yelling it telepathically to you as loud as I can." Why are you not picking this up? Uh, because we're wired for it. Our brain is wired and our mind is wired to pick up information telepathically. And we just need to maybe turn on the switch or start practicing and looking for it rather than just becoming logical people and turning off the intuitive side because it's there for everybody.
I think maybe part of it too, people might hesitate to think that communication can happen because there's resistance even to like seeing animals as having their own personality or consciousness. But if you have pets around you, you certainly know that that they
You
do.
do. Yeah, you do. That always amazes me that some people limit the depth of another species um, abilities because they don't think like us. They don't make the same decisions. They don't solve problems the same way. But there's a lot of depth, especially we'll see it with our animals. I say they have their own personalities, peculiarities, and preferences, just like humans.
True. And I'm curious because I have a dog, and I adopted him when he was 5, and he had been just like a yard dog in Florida, and I was living in a major city when I got him. So he'd never been walked and didn't ever meet other dogs. So at first I tried to get a dog trainer because I was like, oh, we'll just fix it. But it kind of strained our relationship, I thought, where now I'm like trying to modify everything he did. So I just kind of learned to build the world around that tendency instead of trying to fix him. And I'm just wondering, like, with that example, like, how can people learn to either communicate with their animal or maybe even listen to their animal to understand like what's going to make them feel safe or what they're asking for?
Yeah, oh, okay, that is a good place to go. Um, sorry, I'm going to think for a second here.
Yeah, no worries. It was kind of a big question.
Yeah. The the thing is to first, there's a couple mindsets. Oh, goody. There's Ziggy. Hello, Ziggy.
You're
There's a
talking
couple
about
mindsets,
you.
and there he is. Um, first you've got to believe that there is something going on in their brain that's worth connecting to, that there is a thought system, there is a full range of emotions. And then you have to start to think that, yes, I am able to do this. We might even be doing it at some level anyway, if you love your animal a lot. And many of us do these days, they're part of the family. There is some sort of connection there that you can really grow through your love. And the beginning is to open your mind, ask a question with love, and see what comes back. And don't discount whatever you get first. Your intuition, and this, I got this from Tina Zion, but I love it, and I love it. Your intuition is always going to feel like your imagination. And so I add, so get over it, trust that you got something, and tell them that you got it, and just see what you could do to keep it going. It's like giving a dog treats for doing something you liked. If you do it verbally and with love, and you tell them, well, I really got that, thank you so much. And then see if possibly sometimes their behavior will slightly shift, like that you communicated because there's something that happened that didn't happen before. And that can even happen when you're sharing something that you'd like for them to do. And it can't be just words. You got to picture it in your head and imagine you're sending it over to them. And you got to have and I really mean this, like a love for them as you're doing it, and just saying, this will bring me so much joy if you can do this. So those are the kind of the basic starting points for opening yourself up to communicating with your animals.
Did you actively pursue harnessing this skill in yourself, or did you feel like it was something that just kept coming to you and so you had to follow it?
It really did, literally, my dog started coming to me, and it was after I had become a Reiki master, energy healing, and I learned some other disciplines. And the first time it happened was my dog Timmy, who had passed away a number of years before. He showed up in my dining room, sitting on my dining room, and it was like that was Timmy sitting in my dining room. That wasn't a ghost-like figure that you saw the dining room table behind him. Nope, he was happy. He had one ear up and one ear down, because that was my Timmy. And I yelled Timmy and looked at him, and he disappeared. But he survived death. I've said this so many times before, but I'd love to say it. He survived death. His personality was there. He was happy, and he took the time to come back and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm good." So, and it kept happening. So I had another incident with another dog who passed, Eddie, and then my Siberian Husky swore at me, and I thought, dogs can swear. And having been in the Navy, I was like, oh, I know where he learned that from. So, and no, thank you for laughing. And finally, I'm looking at my dog Tibor, passed away a couple of years ago. He had a rough start, and I kept seeing visuals from his past, and I thought, okay, it's time to get real. What the heck is going on? I want to help this guy. And then I realized I could do this for other people and their animals. And if you come to me because you want me to talk to your animal, your heart is open. You really love that beautiful person that inside that furry body or feathered body. I love working with people in that place, and I love working with their animals.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Ziggy's really, since we've got on the call, he's really been making a lot of, he's like,
I'm hearing him. All right. I'm not ignoring you, Ziggy. I apologize. I'm having to talk though.
I think he's very, like, he's very, always communicating. He lets you know how he's feeling all day long.
My guys do too.
Um, and yeah, so like you mentioned dogs passing over, and I know for some people that might be like their first experience of loss or grief is losing a pet. Like I know for me, losing my dog when I was a kid was like one of the most like, I don't know, powerful experiences where I really understood what death was. And so I imagine you have a lot of people like that who come to you wanting comfort. And what kind of lessons do you maybe get from those experiences of people asking for that support?
Um, so I wrote a book, Peace of Passing, Comfort for Loving Humans During Animal Transitions.
Mhm.
But it's not just at the end. I hope when it's getting close to the body giving up, if I can put it that way, you can see the end. Um, I can help people. I help people find out how they're feeling, whether they want to keep going or whether they're like, I'm not having fun in my body anymore. And you can get a lot of the information just by being with them, but it helps to have some confirmation. But beyond that, I like to say, because I believe this with all my heart and soul, that our animals picked us as much as we picked them, no matter what the circumstances are, is that they're part of our soul family, they're part of our family. And because the connection is love, that's eternal. Love doesn't die when the body dies. That connection between us is going on for as long as we both exist. And I think that that's eternal too. So uh, I don't, we lost them body wise, but we did not lose our connection with them. And they still love us and care for us, no matter what they're up to on the other side.
Feel like there are certain things, like maybe that fear of grief, get in the way of people enjoying their pets' senior years? Like maybe they're always worried about that loss coming.
You know, that is a perfect way of putting it, because I rewrote the book a couple years ago because I noticed that people's grief didn't start when they were calling the vet to say, I think we got to set up a euthanasia appointment. It started when the first bad news came. So it might have been that there's some kind of a disease or, illness that's chances are things are going to get better, or we start to watch and see that our pets cannot do what they used to do. You know, that 3 mile walk is down to 10 minutes going a half a block, if so, a small block, not a New York City block. And that's where our grief comes in. So it's a really good question. And one of the things I always comes to mind is a saying that came from one of the Monty Python skits. I'm not dead yet. And although the Monty Python skit does not work here, the saying does, is if we can't remember that they're still with us and they want to enjoy their time with us, they're not interested in spending time with us grieving. That's a little bit mean to say, but what they'd really like is to spend time where they feel loved and taken care of. And so anytime that we can let go of the grief and be there with them, right there, where doing whatever they still find enjoyable, that is so helpful. And it's helpful for us too. It works both ways. Oh.
Sorry, I was watching Ziggy react to you again.
Oh, okay.
Put his head up and then down. Yeah, I think that's it's a good lesson in grief in general, right? If any kind of loss we're experiencing, you still have the present moment.
Yeah. And I like to, because I got to make it real for me. So when my dog Stella was going out, and she was a slow downhill, but I'd start singing to her, every day with Stella is a good day. And because her eyesight was gone, but her hearing she still had some hearing. And I'm sorry, I'm looking over at her picture here. And it reminded me that she's uh, a lucky dog, that she's had such a good life and she's still enjoying her life, and I need to as well.
So what do you think are the things other than maybe this fear of loss or the grief of well, of other pets who've passed away? What are things that might get in the way of people really bonding with their pets, like when they're here on Earth?
Oh my goodness. If you, and I have a feeling that people probably don't fit in this category who listen to your podcast, but if, if you have the feeling that they only care about belly rubs and treats, and that's all you're good for, you're the human, that's going to get in the way of understanding what a deep relationship you can have with them. And what else gets in the way? Oh, I think, oh my goodness. I think in this time, what is getting in the way also is our attachment to electronic stuff. Um, Sadly enough, I tend to keep my phone at home when I walk the dogs because I want to be there completely with them. I'm saddened to see how many people are staring at their phone while they're walking their dogs. Um, in fact, my little dog Mally, if I pick my phone up, she'll start using her paws to try to swipe it out of my hand. Like, stop it. And my cats will walk in front of the screen, the Zoom screen, like, don't you think it's time for a break? So they are telling us. But I think we're not listening very well. Uh,
Yeah.
just being with them, doing whatever they want to do, whether it's hanging out, whether it's seeing how many squirrels we can bark at on our walk, which is not a pleasant thing for me, but we're working on it. But you know what I mean? It's like being in their world with them. That also, I don't think we're doing it very well.
Yeah, I
A
think,
lot of us anyway.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen, she was actually a guest on the podcast, but there is this documentary called Stray that's told from the point of view of stray dogs in Istanbul.
Uh-huh.
Um, so even the camera, she didn't direct it. She just followed the dogs for like weeks and months. Just where are they going to take her? And it was such a challenge to that thinking of it's like usually we'll tell the story what we want the animals to do, you know? So that just came to mind as we were speaking. I'm like, yeah, you have to let them lead the way.
Well, yeah, even on walks, I figure because I got the two dogs with me, it's a three individual walk. It's not Maribeth saying we will go here and then we will go here. I have a plan, but I'm open to suggestion. You know, if one of my dogs sees one of the neighbors and says, "Oh, let's go over and say hi to him," and I'm like, "Okay, let's go over and say hi to him," or or they got a really interesting smell, unless it's poop. I'm okay with them going to check it out.
Um, and so I know you talk a lot about having like a heart connection with pets, and this kind of feels like in the realm of that. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you just see a heart connection as, and why is that important?
I I believe, and I think there's a lot more science-based, that the heart has as much intelligence as the brain. And then where do we look? We look to the heart for compassion and love. There's that energy there on a spiritual basis. So for me, I I use something that I call the energetic green smoothie because the heart chakra is usually seen as a bright green. And I see as like we can make a connection. We can use our imagination to connect directly to their hearts with this green energy and then fill it out with love and feel it coming back to us. And so that is a really good practice if you want to increase them feeling your love. And also when you're communicating with them, if you do that very simple practice of imagining you two connected by this beautiful green light of love, heart to heart. And if there's a bunch of you in the family, like my husband and I and two dogs and two cats, I sometimes see us all around in a circle and I see the heart connection going heart to heart back to me and moving through. So I, I I believe that that's the key, however you do it. And then my green smoothie is a really cool way to do it easy.
And what are some ways that people might see their relationship with their animal shift after doing a practice like this, or maybe working with you or someone like you?
Let's see. Um, so in my own example, when I connected with my dog Newt, because he was getting really jealous of Mally, the new dog, and we did the heart connection, and he was getting pretty growly, like not play growly. There's a difference. And when she came around, and I connected with him and showed him how much love I have, and there's no shortness of love. That's and then he could relax. He was number one boy. Since then, he has allowed her to come up. I've even seen her like push his face away when she wants to get closer to me, and he's like, "Fine, do whatever you'd like to do." So I saw a shift there. I have seen uh, cats. I've seen cats get along better. It's taken some time. Cats are pretty serious about arguing with each other, but I've seen decrease in arguments with cats. Um, People have noticed, let's see, what else? Sometimes they'll notice that the walks are easier. I'm looking for real life examples. And even the animals that aren't enjoying food because they're getting older, and we tell them, you gotta eat if you want to stay on the planet, and your people really want you to, they'll start eating again. So those are a few examples, real life examples where things have changed when we've done that connection.
They're very powerful. Um, so yeah, I know you wanted to speak a little bit about the ways you see our relationships or encounters with animals as sort of invitations to maybe rethink the way we live on Earth. So I wanted to know if you want to say more about that or share what your thoughts are.
I'd like to try it. You're the first person I've going to try sharing this with because I've had a fun with just yeah, imagining it. I imagine that if the species, at some level, the non-human species are saying, huh, what are those humans doing? They're I'm having less babies this year, and there just aren't just not there's not as many squirrels in the neighborhood that there used to be, or whatever. They were all looking around saying, "What's it's changing?" And the only ones making the big changes seem to be that human species. And what are we going to do about this? We really like living here, and I feel like they all turned around and looked at the dogs and the cats and said, "You're living with them." And the dogs and the cats say, "Yeah, you're right. Let's see what I can do." And so they're in there with a small but a big mission to open our hearts up and say, if you can have this relationship with me, human, could you start having this kind of relationship of caring and love for the rest of the species? That we've all got families, no matter how they look. They don't look exactly like the human family, and we all have different ways of making it in the world, but we all want to be here. And could you guys start showing a little more compassion for the rest of the animals? Because I've shown you how I as a dog or I as a cat feel deeply and care about you, and you do for me. Can you open it up a little bit? Just saying. So I'm wondering if I'm having fun thinking that's our dogs and cats' missions. And even the cats who are grumpy at times, and the dogs, they're still there with the mission.
I mean, it's true because it's like, why do we create that binary of, oh, our cats and dogs we protect, but we can, eviscerate a whole forest or do factory farming on cows? And yeah, it just seems like a disconnect.
It does. And I I hope that I like this possibility that they're even sitting in there to saying, yeah, come on out. Come on, humans, you're good at this. You're good at rethinking and seeing the bigger picture.
Mhm.
We're giving you an example of how life could be. Help us out here.
I love that. So I'm curious before we go, what are ways if people want to work with you or read your books, how can they find you and um, start this journey?
Well, I have a website which I've worked hard to put a lot of information on. It is sacredgrove.com, SACREDGROVE.com. And on there you'll find a link to my book, and also ways to work with me. I teach animal communication. I'm finishing up a course this week. I teach another one in the fall. And you'll also find an online program that people who want to just try it out themselves. I got a mini course in family animal communicators, and I do practices with people every month. And so there's another way to try your hand and get started.
And thank you so much for being here today, Maribeth.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you join us on Substack at animal.julianaroth.com, where you can sign up for a newsletter where you get extra bonus doodles and different movement practices and other ways to relate to the non-human animals in our lives.